Hi everyone, my name is Lynn McIntosh and I'm a relationship coach. I help women heal after leaving a toxic relationship. Today we're going to talk about the gaslighter, what the gaslighter does and what's behind the gaslighter, why they do what they do. The term gaslighting, what does it mean? When the narcissist gaslights you, it's their attempt to create and then maintain a sense of confusion in you about who you are and how you interpret life. Remember, the narcissist must be in control. They feel they have to have that superior position. They have their own alternate views of reality so they can keep you in a doubting or confused status. Then that just plays into their hands very nicely. The gaslighter is not an honest person. First, they aren't honest with you with who they are. It's important for them to create an atmosphere with the people and the groups they're with. Well, I do things pretty much right all the time. They won't tell you about their flaws, strains, or difficulties. In fact, they greatly exaggerate who they are and how brilliant they are. They may talk about successes that are wonderful successes, or if there has been a problem in their personal history, then it's always someone else's fault. And if you were to ask them, well, what have you contributed to the downfall of various relationships? They can always come up with a rationalization to let you know it was the other person's fault. So being dishonest with you, with who they are, sets them up for being dishonest with who you are. They don't assess life very cleanly with much objectivity at all. One of the first things gaslighters will do is they will look for ways to discredit you, and they will talk into you about all of your flaws. One of the ways they do this is through direct criticism. I hated the way you handled this because I don't think you realize how rude you are when you talk to people or when you make these decisions. You're not even considering all the things that go into decision making. You don't know how to do that, do you? Or whenever you engage with folks that are just certain norms that you just don't seem to catch on to. So they are constantly looking for these kinds of things to let you know you just don't do life well. You're pretty defective. Then to do that, they may go ahead and add other interpretations which may not be very accurate to strengthen their argument. For example, they may say, in fact, just last week I was talking to your sister and she doesn't want you to know. She thinks you're crazy too. And she was telling me about how you handled this and you just didn't get it very well. You may go back later on and talk to your sister and no, that's not how it was presented at all. The gaslighter wants people to think you're an idiot. Or you may be at a social function and the gaslighter may speak to you afterwards and say, I don't think you realize, but when you were talking to that person over there, you were really hurting their feelings. And you're thinking, no, I thought I had a pretty good conversation with that person. And the gaslighter says, think that if you will, but all I know is that person was sulking when they left. I think you really hurt yourself and your reputation doing that. You need to watch out for stuff like that. So is that there's all these interpretations about you and towards you, and then they can be ascribed to all sorts of other people that have the same negatives. That's part of the crazy making. In addition to that, they will make very broad, sweeping interpretations about you towards you. They feel they have the right to interpret you. They'll say, you don't show respect to people very much. And you're thinking, well, I really think I do. Or they may say, when you talk with some of your friends or coworkers, I don't think you see how inappropriate you are, and you come across so bossy and insecure. They make interpretations to you about you, and you're thinking, no, that's not the interpretation I have at all. And their comeback is, yeah, you don't see life very well, and I need to let you know. So there are all these broad, sweeping kinds of criticisms. You're not a very honest person. You're not a very well-liked person. You have a way of putting people down or putting people off, and you just don't see it. They think they have the right to do this. In addition to that, if you speak to them about some of their deficiencies, for example, you say, when we were talking about this project, I felt you were being pretty critical towards me. Well, the gaslighter will just look at you like, oh, you poor soul. I wasn't being critical. You don't understand things very well, and you weren't following the instructions of, or you were leaving out several key things, so I just had to set you straight. I'm not critical. It's just that you don't seem to understand and how to do life very well. As you discuss with them what they can do to make the relationship better, they are going to flip it back onto you. It's like, no, you've got that wrong again. So they don't receive input whatsoever. Another thing they will do is get on the gossip grapevine and will talk about you in all sorts of ways behind your back. Let's say the narcissist is inside your extended family. So that person will go around and systematically talk to other family members. Well, you all don't see it, but in my experience with this person, they have a bad temper or they speak poorly about you behind your back. So they will sabotage you in those kinds of ways. Other people are thinking, well, that's not consistent with what I see. And the gaslighter is like, yes, I know. I see things a lot better than everybody else. And then as you continue on and you try to let it be known, I want to work with you. I want to try to cooperate. They just keep coming back at you with the same old criticisms. Well, I know we've had this conversation 1,000 times and you're still not catching on. And you also feel you have had repetitive conversations with that gaslighting narcissist. As a result, you feel anything that you say is going to be discounted. You are being credited with characteristics that aren't consistent with yourself. You are being spoken poorly of behind your back. What does that do to you? You feel like pulling your hair out. How do you respond to this poor treatment towards you? Keep in mind, the narcissist is a game player, and the game is to make you look foolish and to make you angry. So if you come back at them with a whole lot of anger and agitation and blame and say, you're constantly down on my case and you're going to have to quit it, your anger feeds the game. Then they can come back and say, see, this is proof of what I'm talking about. You're an unstable person. You can't afford to go into there. Cease your efforts to try to get that person to understand your frame of reference. When you try to explain to them who you are and how you feel, all it does is keeps the game alive, because they are always going to come back with, there you go again. You don't understand life. Never will that narcissist say, oh, well, now that you've explained it, that makes all the difference in the world. Thanks for the input. They won't say that. Instead of trying to convince the narcissist, you're going to have to look inside yourself and find your own definition of who you are. If the narcissist, for example, says you're an abrasive person, that you have anger issues, first you will need to ask, what do I know about me? If there are some things that need to be corrected, then good. That means you are a self-aware person and you are willing to address these kinds of things. In addition, if you find yourself to be pleasant, serving, kind, or objective, or fair-minded, and then if the narcissist says you're not, well, that person doesn't have the final say. You have the final say about yourself. So you're going to have to learn how to have your own separate internal interpretation about yourself, realizing that gaslighting narcissist is not a well person, and you don't want to hand over your personal stability to someone who doesn't understand life very well at all. You need to make sure you connect with people who do get you. I know people that have been gaslighted so much, it's like, well, I don't know if anyone thinks well of me. You know, if you have any sense of stability and steadiness, if you hang out with some other folks who are of non-narcissistic persuasion, they are probably going to appreciate that. And they are going to want to engage with you and join with you in your efforts towards decency. If you have friends that you can avail yourself to and just talk out who you are to them, see what they think. Or family members, sometimes it's good to get the objective input from a therapist. Make certain that you have a support system around you, where other people, it's like, well, maybe that narcissistic person has an opinion of you that leans in one direction, but I have an opinion of you that ultimately is much more favorable. It's nice to be reinforced by those kinds of individuals. Lean towards people who have a non-gaslighting mindset. You might have to remove the gaslighter from your life altogether. Don't seek them out for input or opinions about who you are and how you need to engage better. They are going to lie to you anyway. Your task is to individualize your efforts to be a healthy person. Remain open to others' input, but when you realize the input is coming from a manipulator, take them off your friends list. They are not someone you're going to go to for good advice, guidance, or education about who you are and how you engage well. In a healthy situation, talking through your personality, your tendencies, and your strengths and weaknesses with a trusted friend is a good thing to do. But when you have someone who enjoys creating confusion and looking for the negatives, that's someone who you don't want to look for personal engagement. Remove them from your life. Individualize your efforts for you to be a healthy you. That person is not in charge of your ultimate opinion of yourself. Take care and stay narc free.